All right.
How about those Red Sox?
All right, then we're going to start our regular town council meeting for October 12th, 2021. Let's have a roll call, Mary, please.
Mayor Paul Shalhoub,
Present.
Vice Mayor Robert Shalhoub,
Here.
President Pro Tem Gregory Freebold,
Here.
Councilmember Valteen Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilmember Albert Pavone.
Here.
All right, thank you. Let's do a moment of silence here. For Bess Gregory, she was 93 years old. And Paul Gigliotti, he was 54 years old. And Dr. Jeffrey B. Favis was 80 years old. All nice members here of our community passed away over the last month. May their memories be eternal. Father Peter, would you be so kind as to lead us in the invocation? And then the Pledge of Allegiance after that.
Oh, Heavenly Father, we thank you on behalf of those who are gathered here today. We thank you for your abundant blessings. We thank you for life itself and for the health we need to fulfill our responsibilities. We thank you for the ability and the honor to be involved in useful work for our community. We thank you for the freedoms that we enjoy. You have taught us to obey the government authorities since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, we pray for the town council, for the various levels of our town government, and graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our time, the understanding of what is good and fitting, and the ability to work together in harmony. All this we ask in thankfulness of thy most holy name. Amen.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
Take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, we have no presentations, no quasi judicial proceedings, public hearings, unfinished business. So we're gonna move straight on to new business, which is the lien on 1621 Carandis Road. Do we have anybody here to speak in regards to the lien? Yes. If you'd be so kind as to come on up and tell us your name, your address.
Good afternoon, Dan Whitaker, 1621 Carandis Road. I'm here with my wife, Marlene Whitaker. Residents of the community for roughly 20 years.
So doctor us, what's going on?
Okay, so many years ago, we were cited for some grass that was dead in front of the property, and then various points of the property that was described as loose dirt. Dana and I worked together to talk about what needed to be improved upon. And so we worked through that, and we replaced the majority of the concern was the front portion of the property. Here's an example of the property for everybody. Gotta make sure this doesn't fall down.
Oh, yeah, put it on the chair. It's easier.
Sure.
So the majority of the complaint fell onto that's the current property right now.
That's what it looks like now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So at some point we had done a lot of construction. We had bought the house and have been through quite a bit of renovation in the very beginning. We were the third owner, and so nothing had ever been done on that property. So we were through extensive renovation, but long story short, that's what the majority of the complaint was. And I had met with the code, I believe twice, and they approved that the front through Dana's pictures. They said, okay, good, that, that's compliance. And then there was a discussion about what was and what wasn't loose dirt. And I requested the meeting notes of those subsequent meetings, but we weren't able to get them. It was too far back. But I think what the real meat of this is there's an extensive lien that lien accrued over 7 years, and that wasn't on purpose. That wasn't us, trying to prove a point. That really did get away from us. We didn't know there was an ongoing fine until Melissa Nash reached out to us. And then when she did, we immediately called, brought back what the loose dirt concern was in compliance, and then began the conversation about how do we work on that huge lien. I do want to say that, working through this, Mr. Clark's staff, Mr. Clark himself, Mary, everybody, Dana have been incredible working with us, describing what happened, trying to reposition all the minutes to us. They sat down with me, Mr. Clark and his team, and put together, all the meetings and said, okay, here's the citations that we had. Did you receive? And I said, in the very beginning we did, but we did not ever receive this lien notice and things like that. It may have come to us. I don't want you to think that we're here to say that anyone didn't or did do their job. There's a broad conversation about what's considered loose dirt, but to be honest with you, counsel, I don't think that's probably what you're, going to, I think that's more of the code board. But what we just, blatantly ask is that this wasn't on purpose. The property looks wonderful now on both sides. It has for years. And what we would like you to consider is just reducing that lien. We brought into compliance immediately that day she came out, and then we called and said it was done. So we do recognize, my wife and I, that there's been a lot of people involved in this. And we do feel that a reduction of the lien would be great, but we do feel that there should be some compensation to Dan's staff and to Dana, because there was some costs that reflected on that, obviously. And we, do not want to dismiss the fact that people up until this point, even until today, have touched this file. And so, we just ask that you consider reducing that. I'm not sure if we're able to figure out how many hours or what have you, but I think in the very beginning, it almost looked like that we were potentially saying that, no one did or didn't do that. That's never been the case. We want to just come to you guys and say, hey, we've seen everything, we're looking at everything. And we'd like to, your role is to help us mitigate this as the leaders of our community. And we just don't feel like that sizable lien reflects really this loose dirt concern. And when we talk about this loose dirt, it's really, Lily, like a foot of non-mulched space. The majority of the original complaint was that front, and that was immediately mitigated. So that's really, I have a lot or a little to cover, but really at the end of the day, this, we are long-term community members. We're going to continue to stay in our house. We love our property. We love our house. We just put a brand new roof on it. As you can see, the landscape's beautiful. Green as grass on the road. So we would just like that you consider all those factors. And, we did let this get away from us. We don't know how, but it did. And but immediately upon notification, we fixed it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes, Dan, what's the lien amount?
I'm sorry, I don't have that.
Is 183,000 correct? You got the summary?
I have this.
I know, there's this summary here.
Oh, yeah,
183.
hold on. What's under new business? No.
One of these. Get that.
Oh, I have it here. Sorry. Thank you. Is there any particular amount that you're asking us to consider for the reduction?
Yes, Mayor. I did some rough figures. I put Dan's hours, I put Mary's hours, I put Dana's hours. I didn't know what factor to use, so I put a $45 labor rate to kind of go there. I came up with a $3,200 assessment that would fairly compensate the town
Say 3,200?
for the.
Mayor, I have a question here.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Okay, just so everyone understands this, Dan came to me with this probably a couple months ago. And I basically told Dan to come to the council and address it. I tried to look at the file, try to figure this one out, and I haven't been able to. What perplexes me is on, this lien was imposed May 25th, 2011, officially not completed for 9.5 years later, but you completed a problem in 2012, and you completed a problem in 2017. The 2017 problem was the numbers on the house.
Yeah, that's another weird situation.
Well, the only reason I'm making this point is the thing that kind of disturbed me is, if you didn't know this, do we have some sort of obligation to kind of tell residents, hey, let's go check on your dirt every year to see if it's still there or not? The reason I say that is because, you all remember Mr. Barbie's residence and what we went through for years. And his house was a true nuisance to the neighborhood. And, we never imposed any lien or got anywhere close to these numbers for like a true nuisance. And what I'm just concerned about as a council member is just something seems wrong about $175,000 lien for loose dirt. It's sort of like, what did the loose dirt do to people during the 9 years? You know what I'm saying? It just was there. I mean, we got loose dirt everywhere around town if you go look now. So when I was talking to Dan, I told him, I think you should just bring it to the council and have them look at it. And I guess at some point in 2020, Dana went back and determined, I guess, that there was no loose dirt. How did that trigger? Like,
I have the answer to that.
okay, yeah, please.
We were refinancing the property and there was a lien. I called the town. I said, hey, I'm seeing this lien. And they said, you have to contact Melissa Nash, who's a common friend of ours. And I called Melissa and she said, let me look into it. And I sent her the pictures and I said, is this what it is? And then she said, yeah, she said, call Dana right now. And first of all, bring in compliance.
So,
and I said, okay. And we did.
okay, so you brought it in compliance. You're telling us you brought it in compliance the first time you understood you actually had this lien with an open dirt problem.
Correct.
I'm just, so I'm just saying, and just my opinion over here is that in equity, it just seems crazy that the lien went to $175,000 because it's too bad. Like in 2012, you didn't try to do your roof or remodel. You would have known then.
Well,
yeah.
But it is public record. That's the other thing. The lien is a public record. It's not like it was hidden from anyone.
here are some questions I have. Do you have any more right now?
No, I don't. Thank you, Mayor.
I'm going to open it up. I want to hear what the council has to say, but I have a quick question. Your comments mostly focused on the loose dirt. What about the $7,000 lien related to the lack of address numbers on your building, on your home?
Yeah, so that's what Val was referring to. So that was another thing that we actually thought that we solved. Dana, we actually have numbers on the property. At some point we had a gate in the front of the property.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have a mailbox right next to the property. So if we were looking at our property, right, at one point there was a gate. And then next to that gate is our mailbox. The mailbox has our numbers on it.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't see the house. When the doors open, we didn't have the numbers of our property physically on the house, but we had it on the mailbox. And so Dana and I went back and forth, and I said, we're happy to put it on the house. So we ended up putting it on the gate, not the house, because that was the front facing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was another thing. We didn't know that there was a council meeting that cited that we were still in violation of that. What we think what happened was we had a neighbor for some time who caused a lot of mischief on our property, our next door neighbor named Steve. We think that it was dropped off. Dana said she put it in the door on the front of the property. We think he actually took the summons of us when she put them on. That's our best guess of that. That did come into compliance right away. It was very insignificant. We're talking about, you could look at our house and you'd see that it's 1621 on the mailbox, but it was not displayed on whatever was to the front. That's what that is.
But that's a $7,000 lien. That means you were out of compliance. I mean, it's a $50 a day fine
We did not know it until, again,
for like 5 months.
yeah, Dana she actually knocked on our door. Actually, I saw her driving by and she said, you need to take care of that. I said, take care of what? She said, you got to put letters. I said, we did. It's over here. She's like, okay, then I have to update the town. That's actually on record.
But she didn't mention about the dirt at that time?
She did not mention the dirt. We did not know about the dirt until.
Here's the other thing.
Yeah.
We got a June 2020th, 2011, signed by Carl Johnson and Joe George, who was the chair of the code board meeting back then. It says you were at the hearing that was held on March 23rd, 2011, or you were at the hearing where the final assessment hearing, fine assessment hearing. When this all began, it was $50 a day. And that was for violation of section 26 sub 3.
I'm sorry, what meeting are you referring to, Mayor?
It's just a finding of fact. This is in your file, like it's the hard paper file. These aren't copies. I think this is original documents. But
So we thought we were in compliance after that meeting because they did.
But I'm saying it's a fine assessment hearing. Like it's at that hearing is where they say, hey, here's your fine. You're being assessed. And it says, you're present on a couple of those meetings.
They were always continuations of those meetings at that time. And they always said that, hey, if this isn't solved, it's retroactive back. Because I tried getting the meeting minutes because we went through, so we actually displayed the property.
Mm-hmm.
And in one of the pictures, Dana actually put loose dirt with question mark. She said property's in compliance with this particular, the first photo I gave you. And then there's like a little bush. I could find the picture but there's a bush and then we have pavers and literally it's a foot. And she said, is that loose dirt? And it had a question mark. I remember Dana and I talking about that and thinking that, hey, we're done. We did what we were supposed to in the front. That's just basically a bedding. So that's, if you were to say, Dan, where do you think you left off? I thought that she actually came back to the next meeting, which I wasn't attending. And I thought that she basically said, hey, we're in compliance. That's not really loose dirt. What loose dirt is this huge unkept property. If we were to take an example of what she questioned as loose dirt, it's on the file, there would be loose dirt on every property on Lake Clark Shores. But we're not here to, I don't want you to think that I'm here to debate this. I think what I would like the council to understand is there's just a big question mark on what that loose dirt was. And that was actually, we discussed it several times with the board. And it says the notes in there like beach sand and I actually had 2 council members, I remember saying, hey, that's fine. When we left that meeting, I actually did meet with Dana again after the fact, and she came out and because we met a lot about the property because there was a lot of liens or a lot of code enforcement on that particular street because we had a neighbor that would call. So, but to answer your question, I was never at a meeting where they actually said, you're being fined, it's signed off, this is now turned into a lien, you didn't take care of it. That never happened.
But you were notified of the liens.
From the very beginning, they said that there's always been, no, I was never notified of the liens. I was notified of the day fee from the very beginning, but I was never notified that there was a lien imposed. I was not in that meeting.
Anybody have any questions for him?
I have a quick question about that. You're saying, so from the time this lien was imposed, May 25th, 2011, you never had an opportunity to deal with anything legally where there would be a question about the lien until recently, I guess, when how did you first learn about the lien?
When we wanted to refinance,
Okay, so
and the bank said that there's a big lien from Lake Clark Shores.
so in between, so you're telling us that like for the 9 years, you didn't really have any major improvements where a lien would have been something to your attention?
No, we had filed for several building permits during that time. That was never brought up. So no, we had no idea. We would have fixed it right away.
You obviously didn't try to sell your house during that time period.
No, we don't want to sell that property. We love being there. No, the way that I would potentially look at this if I were you guys is like, you have this angry homeowner that said, we're not going to fix it. That was never the case. We actually were meeting with Dana, trying to bring up the property. We put brand new sprinklers when they want us to. We put brand new sod. And then as she's coming out, there was actually a very big question on what is this loose dirt? It was actually a meeting. And I brought examples of, like right outside our door, right across the park, there's tens of thousands of feet of unmulched property. So, but that's not the goal. We just want to let you know that this isn't an intentional thumb up to the town saying, we're not going to confine in this. That's never been the case. So we had no idea about this lien. We did go to the meeting though, Mr. Shaw, yeah, for sure about that. And they always said, hey, we're going to continue this. And then upon continuing, we would meet with Dana and then, yeah.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Pavone?
That is one hefty lien for loose dirt. I personally know him. You're a workaholic and a half.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised you're ever home. Wish Dana was here to ask, because I don't know what the timeline was when the meetings were happening, like when it was first brought up, how much time before Dana came back out to see the work that was done? Was it a few years or was it right away?
No, we were talking regularly as these council meetings were being presented.
Taking place?
Yeah. And so there's a group of photos. It's going to take me a couple minutes if I can find them, where she actually says, she takes pictures. This is good. This is good. And then it says loose dirt with a question mark.
Okay.
That's, and it, to me, if we were to say that every bush border, if it doesn't have mulch or rock on it, that'd be a big thing to solve for a community. That's what that was. That was, the difference between pavers and trees.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a foot. I'm going to find the picture for you. I tried flimming through this really quick.
So it's okay. I think the issue here is you knew it was a violation. You knew you were found in violation. Eventually you cured it. I believe we followed procedures, Dan, correctly with regard to filing a lien, putting them on notice of the lien, et cetera. So.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Mr. Clark, I see here that Mr. Whitaker was present for the hearing. It was made retro to the 23rd of March, 2011. Is it then the homeowner's responsibility to contact the town to come over, take a look and make sure they're in compliance? Or do we re-notify them? Or I'm not certain how that all works. 183,000 seems like a lot.
Yes, I agree. It's a lot. And the challenge here is how long did it go on for? Mr. Whitaker was present, I think, at 5 meetings on this issue. And in that would represent 5 months of an opportunity to fix the problem.
Right.
And he didn't get it fixed in that period of time. Once the liens start, we don't go back and knock on the door. We've been knocking on the door for 5 months and nothing's happened. So once the liens start, it's kind of up to the homeowner to either accept the fact that he's got liens on his property and that he hasn't addressed the issue, or address
Their
it.
responsibility to notify the town that they've been corrected. Please come and make sure that we're in compliance.
Right, which is stated at pretty much every code board. When you're in compliance, call us so that we can
Well, it
stop.
says there, and he was present, so even
Oh.
183 Gs is a lot.
Yeah.
I got a question in that regard.
If I could respond to something though, what Mr. Clark said, I wasn't at 5 meetings, I was only at 3. And
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
So-
what's that? Yeah. And then consequently, after the last meeting, I was in contact with Dana after that meeting several times. And she took pictures post to that meeting.
So you're saying that you had contact with Dana, she took pictures, and then you were trying to figure out whether you're in compliance at that point or not?
At that point, I believe I was.
So this was a meeting in 2011?
After the, yeah, because she came out and took pictures. And I said, here it
To
is.
me, that's very important to our analysis. I really feel like we need to continue this because I feel like if that's Dana's recollection, that you all were having these conversations back and forth, and I've seen some emails from Dana in the file as well that I'd like to question her about. There's one from November 3rd, 2020. It's in our file. I don't know if it's in your file, Mr. Whitaker, but it's a public record nonetheless. I'd like to, I think, to understand this issue completely before our council can make a decision on whether to reduce this hefty lien. We should do that. Look, we've done at least that for Mr. Barbie. We spent years for Mr. Barbie going back and forth, mediations, legal aid. We did this and we did that for a resident who was having a clear nuisance. And, we kind of walked him through the process. I think Mr. Whitaker at least deserves some of the type of attention we gave to Mr. Barbie. So I would move that we continue this until we can have Dana present.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I'd like to have a discussion before we vote. With regard to continuing it, I don't particularly have an objection to that. That being said, a couple things that come to mind here is, one, this is a 10-year-old issue. It's now being brought to our attention. There are documents that indicate the town did what we needed to do and that you were put on proper notice. And meaning I don't see a deficiency in what the town did, right? From a perspective of perfecting a lien, from a perspective of putting you on notice, from a perspective of making sure you knew about the meetings, et cetera. We did what we were supposed to do. Then these fines accrued, and then they became a lien because you didn't want to pay the fines a long time ago. So now that's how you become a lien, right? You don't want to pay the fines, you don't want to correct the problem, then it becomes a lien. You correct the problem, but you don't want to pay the fines, it becomes a lien. So there are multiple issues here, which I don't know why you didn't want to either address the fines because they were already imposed and try to pay them off at some point in time in 2011 or 2012. And then now you come up and you're like, hey, all this money and this 10 years have gone by. And from my perspective, not to discount anything you're saying, I understand what you're saying as far as, have to take some things in consideration about reducing the lien. As a council, we also have fiduciary responsibility to the town. So we have legally owed and due $183,332.69 from what I can tell. It's a lot of money. I don't have an opinion at the moment saying we need to get $183,000 from, but you appreciate that we have a financial responsibility to the town to not just wipe it out for $3,000, right? Especially when some of it is not related to the loose dirt and it speaks directly to a safety issue. So those are just my general thoughts at the moment. Not to mention weighing heavily on me is the extreme amount of time that you waited to address the fines and liens, right? I'm happy you finally addressed the loose dirt and the numbers on the house and the unlicensed corded, whatever this thing was, and the operating. Those are small fines. Those are $300 and $332, and then you have the larger fine, the $7,000 for the numbers. Happy you did all that. Just don't. Maybe at the next hearing, we can have more information from Dana and yourself as to why none of these things were addressed in 2011, 2012. And then I kind of get maybe why they weren't addressed between then and now. You just figured, hey, I owe the money, but they are not asking for it anymore. So maybe it'll go away. But those are my concerns.
Can I address?
Well, right now, that was a discussion on it, so the
Oh, okay.
council's gonna have to vote.
So we're just at a point where we're putting it off and they'll second it for discussion.
Yeah,
Did you request public records that you never picked up?
I have all the Peckham records. What I
did-
needed
you did
was
get 'em?
color
I
copies.
just- Huh?
That's all that stuff.
He got the.
Oh, okay.
he
I
made a public
I'm
record.
just reading through the file and it said that it's waiting there for you. So that's good.
Yeah, I went to the town. I guess they're having problems with a color copier, but then I was able to get
Okay.
the copies. So, yeah, but I'm sorry, I have to address, you're assuming that I actually knew about this lien and there was fines imposed and and you also assume that I was intentionally trying to avoid these liens, and that's not correct. That's what I think I heard you say.
If we did everything we were supposed to do, which I understand we did, you would have had to have known about the liens.
Yeah, we did not know about the
So-
liens.
Yeah, that very well could be what we need to address at the next hearing,
Yeah.
if the council chooses to postpone it to the next.
Yeah. Yeah, it just very much sounded like you were saying that, oh, let me try to hide. That was not the case. We actually have documentation that we were bringing the property in compliance.
Emily, mark this part of the tape. Thank you.
I had asked Charlie for some advice in this as well. I said, how do people know when liens are filed?
Yeah.
I was trying to figure that out because I'm not really familiar with that. And Charlie's not here today, but he was going to look into that in this particular case, because I think this lien was amended.
Not to cut you off, but can we just vote on your motion?
Yeah, are we done with discussion?
Does anybody else need to hear more to decide on the motion to continue this to next month?
Mm-mm.
All right, let's have a vote. All in favor of continuing this issue to the next month?
Aye.
Aye. All right. I think we got more work to do here, pal.
I agree. I think it's a 9-year process. I get that.
Yeah.
The thing is, I just don't want to get caught in a situation where I feel like, we're a resident for 20 years. We're just going to say, forget it. We followed the rules and all that. We don't care about you. I think I'd like to just explore it more.
No, I think we're all in agreement. We need to have more information.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it to our attention and look forward to getting this issue resolved.
Yeah, and I appreciate everyone's time.
Can I have a point of clarification, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
I'm trying to understand, as I understand it, you're here regarding case number 11-1170 only, true?
That's what I was under the assumption that this meeting was about. Yes, sir.
Now.
This
did
is
you
the,
pay-
when that, you're referring, I don't know the exact case number, but is that the loose dirt?
That is
case
a loose
number?
dirt.
You keep
yes.
on saying loose dirt and I keep on, it's more than
Right.
loose dirt because it's a
This is what we're looking
section
at.
in the code specifically. It doesn't just say loose dirt. Those two words do not exclusively apply to section 2626.
That section doesn't even exist anymore.
At the time it did.
Yeah, but how?
But my question, excuse me, Mr. Rodriguez, I just want to know, your ask here tonight is only on case number 11-1170, true?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that teaches me that case number 11-1789 has been satisfied in the amount of $300. Did you pay that fine?
I'm sorry, which fine are we referring to now?
I have here an order imposing penalty and lien where you were evidently making a request to pay a reduced fine of $300 on or before April 6th, 2012. Did you make that payment?
I'm not sure.
Case number 12-0241. You were assessed a fine of $332.69. Did you make that? Did you pay that?
Not familiar with that fine.
Have you always lived at your address here, 1621 Carandus Road?
Yes,
So when we send you registered letters, there's no reason why it should be returned to sender. Would you agree?
I 100% agree. It actually was returned to sender. We don't know why we didn't receive it. And had we received it, we would have had this meeting a long time ago.
And then there's case number 17-0311. where you were found in violation and a lien imposed of $7,000. Did you pay that?
We were not aware of that lien until we requested it from Melissa Nash.
Well, I would respectfully suggest council consider not only, I don't know what good Dana is going to assist us, because if Dana took a picture and has a question mark on it, that begs the question, in my opinion. Because what you have is you have a finding of fact, you had a hearing, you had a decision being made, you had a vote of the entire panel, and they came in and they said violation. And then they imposed the lien. Whether or not there's a picture of loose dirt or not, and I think that begs the question that you have an order imposing finding you in violation. Whether or not it's loose dirt or not, it's a bigger issue than just quote unquote loose dirt.
Yeah,
So what are we going to do about the other liens?
Yeah, we're happy to pay them. Yeah, once we found out, we actually had a request from Mary. What do we have outstanding? You know, and she had sent me over a document. Some of this actually had the document didn't have one of these on there. And so I said, oh my gosh, we have to take a look at this. There's, Mr. Schaub, there's no doubt that you guys, when I started this conversation, didn't do what you were supposed to do, and Dan and your staff. There's no doubt there. We did not know that there was this ongoing lien. That's why I requested some of the minutes, is because I really wanted to rebuild, because there was a lot going on, a lot of discussions. When that did hit, I guess the lien at that time, we did not receive a certified letter.
Well, according to the information we have here, Mr. Whitaker, the post office suggests they left notices. And obviously the notice, maybe you had to go to the post office to sign for everything. But everything that we sent to you on every lien just so happens to be returned. And
Yeah, I don't know why. That was one of the conversations. We have a big family. We have 5 people who live in the house. We all come in and out of the property. So there's absolutely, I'm not saying, Mr. Howell, that no, you guys didn't do your job. We're just asking that.
I'm just saying, if the post office says there is a letter that requires your signature, come on down to the post office and sign it, and you didn't go sign it. And this is all assumptions.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about. Because I'm not familiar with the post office. But as I recall, that's what they do. They leave a notice and you're supposed to go pick it up and sign for it.
Sure. We're just asking for a fair assessment to something that we actually don't even feel is a continuation. Like, that's up for another, I think, meeting, to where me as a town member is going, can we define, like, when I reached out to Mr. Clark, I said, what is loose dirt? You know, what does that cover? I understand what you're coming from. And
I don't care about the definition of loose dirt today. Respectfully, that was a decision that was made by the code board when they had your trial.
Yeah.
And they made a decision.
Well, but the loose dirt has a lot to do with, I think, the ambiguity of where I think I left off with Dana, and thinking that we actually solved the issue.
And I think the issue is more with the code board rather than Dana.
Or the code board. I'm not disputing any of that.
Well, maybe we should ask Mr. George and Mr. Hughes and the other people that were there to weigh in on this.
So here's what I suggest. We've already voted to continue this to the next meeting, so the discussion on it really can continue over the next few weeks, and then we can figure things out.
Sure.
Come back to the next meeting, we'll see what we can do.
Sure.
All right, let's move on to the next agenda item. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, audience comments. Anybody in the audience want to add additional comments not on that topic? No? Any other topics anybody wants to discuss? Written questions?
Mr. Mayor, we've had a number of written questions that we're responding to in writing, also that have to deal with getting the roads resurfaced.
Okay.
We've answered all of the questions except for one, and I'm working on where I put the 5-year plan for the infrastructure retirement, so I can send that to the question.
So is there any questions that the council needs to address at this time?
Only one request, which is for Val to speak into the microphone.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience? Okay. Moving on to status reports. We'll start with you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. All of you have a copy of the monthly status report. Do you have any questions?
There we go. Anybody?
I can review a little bit. I think this will be some good information on the camera system. The camera system in the last 30 days checked and processed 87,439 tags coming in through our 5-camera system. We had 5 miscellaneous hits, 1 stolen vehicle from West Palm. 5 of the hits were coming in from Keller Road from Lake Worth, and 1 hit was from Pine Tree Lane. We had 4 arrests. We had a domestic battery, trespassing, a DUI, and another misdemeanor traffic offense dealing with the license. Also, we did some training with Palm Springs, which was nice because it didn't cost the town anything. So they set up some training. We also got our new body cameras. They've been issued to the officers and they're updated technology from what we had before. We also participated with the Sheriff's Department's Organized Crime Narcotics Unit, along with the Sheriff's Department's Criminal Investigation Unit, and with West Palm. For the past year, we were assisting them on an illegal gambling operation. There's some other things going on and some other investigations. From this, I did receive a check from the sheriff for $21,709.46. That'll go into the town's forfeiture account. Any questions?
I think that's fantastic. You got that money, Chief. Job well done. I really appreciate it. I don't have any questions. Anybody else?
When can we anticipate the speed signs arriving?
I'd have to check with Dan. What I did on part of that forfeiture, I used it to purchase the speed signs. They have the data information. We have them on Westlake, and it's been great on slowing people down. It gives us a count, a day count, so you have an idea how many people are speeding, how many people are going under the speed limit, and how many vehicles coming through the town. The other location was Pine Tree, and I talked with Dan, and the town didn't have the money. So I'm taking part of the forfeiture money. I had additional money to put 2 speed radar signs on Pine Tree Lane. So that will help with safety. It'll also give us a database so we can see people coming and going through the town and the time of the day, and also the traffic during the week.
Sorry, Chief, I was thinking ahead. Very nice. Good job.
The last signs, it took us 60 days to get them.
Okay.
Any other questions for the chief? No. We have another chief in the room today, Chief Tracy Adams, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. Welcome. I'm looking at your report right now.
It's gonna be hard to follow.
Yeah.
$1,000. I'm here to say is that it is the end of our fiscal year.
Please come.
Yeah, come on up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening. Sorry. So anyway, it is the end of our fiscal year. So I was consulting with Dan about a month ago. We're putting together our end of the year report with Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, which we'll be giving to your municipality to view. One of the neat highlights is that our fire chief, Chief Duran, won Firefighter of the Year in the state of Florida, the Florida Fire Chiefs Association. So that's a pretty cool
That's fantastic.
award for Palm Beach County Fire Rescue to receive. So you've probably seen those annual reports, but you'll be having a printed color copy as soon as we get that to you. As soon as they get that together. We didn't have any huge major incidents last year, luckily. What I looked up and found in Lake Clark Shores was, I guess, a residential boat fire in the back of somebody's home.
Wow.
was one of the things that I had found, but not anything else super duper exciting, which I guess is good news. We don't want to have anything huge, right?
I agree.
Numbers. I wasn't here last month. I was on vacation. Last month, we had 32 incidents in Lake Clark Shores, 25 medical, 1 motor vehicle, 1 fire, 5 fire alarms, excuse me. In September, we had 27 calls, 23 medicals, 1 motor vehicle accident, 1 fire, and 2 fire alarms. So pretty good. The numbers that I like to look at is what's called the turnout time, because that's what we can control as firefighters. That's from the time the dispatchers, from the time we get our notification to go. During the day, we look for under 1.5 minutes, and at night under 2 minutes. And the numbers that I looked at was under 1 minute. So that makes me very happy because that's a number that I can control with my gals and girls underneath me. So that's very good news. You know, the travel time and the traffic, that, you know, that obviously we can't control, but turnout times we can. So I'm very happy. So that's good news for the municipality. And other than that, I don't have anything else unless you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Chief. You know, you mentioned looking at numbers. I was discussing this with Dan maybe a month or so ago. How many fires do we have a year here in Lake Clark Shores? I'm surprised to see that we had 1 fire on the report. We like seemingly never have.
Well, it's interesting you say that. It could just be a call that goes out, and we'll go out like a structure fire call, and we send 3 engines and 2 rescues and a chief and an EMS captain to go to assess it. And a lot of times it might just be a simple smoke scare where it's really nothing, maybe a pot on the stove or an air handler on fire, just smokes, where it comes over as a fire, an alarm as a fire, but it's not really once we get there. Real fire would be called a working fire, which means that it requires us, hose to put out the fire, and we got smoke and flames showing. So I can get you the exact number for the year if you want to find out exactly like working structure fires. But as far as like these numbers, what I get is just dispatch numbers, like an incident of a residential structure fire.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I understand.
But like I said, when I looked for the past year and I looked through our database, I looked for Lake Clark Shores and I didn't come really up with anything super alarming. I will now be keeping a better record though moving forward because it's harder to backtrack. Better to be proactive than reactive.
Right.
So, and another issue that I have is that I share Lake Clark Shores not only with my district, I'm District 23, but with also a district chief 91, and she is in my neighboring battalion in most of the Lake Worth area. And so her unit 93 come in, and my units as well 39 come in. So we kind of share that. So when our numbers go out, we kind of get split, if that kind of makes sense. And one day I'm going to actually have her come and meet you guys at the council meeting as well, because I feel like I'm the one always here, but like I said, both of these battalions serve you guys. So it would be good. And then the times that I can't be there, then you can have Chief Jerry too.
Fantastic.
All righty.
Having you.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you,
good.
Chief.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see here. Caldwell Passetti.
Yeah, nothing to add really, other than what's in Charlie's report. I don't know if there's any questions or if I'd have an answer if there is.
No worries. Any questions?
The foreclosure complaint, why were we named as a defendant? Do we have a lien on that property?
Code lien.
How much is that?
It's relatively new. It's the Terhune property. I've been in the last couple code meetings. It's fairly new. It's a reverse mortgage. The house has sort of been abandoned.
Okay.
So I don't think it's real large, but it's certainly going to be inferior to the mortgage.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. On to Mr.
That's the one we declared a nuisance property and we've been cleaning it.
Down here on Pine Tree?
Yeah.
Westlake.
Westlake.
Things are starting to take shape there. Nice. Mr. Clark.
I wanted to introduce Bill Lynch to start off with. I asked Bill to attend tonight. He's been attending virtually all of our meetings. He's the brilliant engineer that's working on our septic to sewer project. And you see this month we have a report from him. He's going to be providing us a report each month on our activities associated with septic to sewer. So if you will welcome Bill.
Hey, Bill.
I was actually going to get to Bill after you gave your report.
Sorry. Okay, well.
I was saving the best for last.
My report is there. I really don't have anything to offer except I did have some very positive conversations with DEP. They are interested in an alternative rescue plan or recovery plan, restoration plan for Lake Clark. So we'll be talking about that next week. That will keep us away from having to do TMDLs and a BMAP, which will save us money down the road, but it is not any less obligatory.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Any questions from Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Clark, is the plan for the Palm Beach County Homeless Coalition still in place, or has that been canceled, or was that going to be in November?
I have not heard anything about it, actually.
Nope. Okay, just curious. I hadn't seen anything in the report, so.
Any questions?
One other one. Did we have a read for the record this year?
No.
Did they provide us with a book? Because believe it or not, I've had several people reach out to me to find out if we were going to be able to come and read to the students. Normally that's held in September. It's a mayor situation, but we all have been going out and reading. You never received anything?
We did receive notice that they had their luncheon. We chose not to go because of COVID related issues, but the information will come to us.
Did they send us a book?
No, we haven't got it yet. No.
Did we request one?
Yeah, they said they'd send us one.
Okay.
They just haven't
All right.
got
Keep me
to
posted.
it yet.
Thank you.
I'm all for keeping that.
Yeah.
All for it.
Yep.
Has there been a date set for that meeting with Lake Worth for the Blue Way Trail?
So we met with two commissioners this morning. I think they're allowing us an easy start because the commissioners were very positive about re-energizing the Blue Way Trail activities. We have the mayor tomorrow, which will be positive also, I believe. Then on Thursday and Friday, we're going to have two other commissioners that will be a little more challenging for us.
Okay.
They have asked us to put together a draft resolution and get to them by close of business Thursday that will get Lake Worth Beach signed on in support of the project. I don't know how much further it's going to go than that, but of the 15 or 17 communities that we have resolutions from in support of this, Lake Worth Beach was never one that signed the resolution. So they'll put it on their first meeting in November, and we believe that they'll approve that and help us use that to move forward.
Okay.
Do you know when that meeting is?
I do not. I'll
Can you
find.
Let me know.
Yeah, I'll find out tomorrow.
Thank you, Dan. Val, anything?
No questions.
No, I'm fine.
All right. Now, the man who's going to help us go septic to sewer, Mr. Bill Lynch. I saw your report. I loved reading it. It's the first time I've seen a report from you in a while. So please let us know what's going on.
Outstanding. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me, Dan. So, Mr. Mayor and Councilman, I did prepare a brief report that should have been in your package. It was purposely presented with a summary of the overall program, then a purpose for each of the 4 task orders that we currently have with you to execute the full program from septic now to sewer. So I can give you a brief overview if you'd like.
Sure.
And we can go down from there. So 2019, the town had a master plan prepared for them. After that master plan was issued, the town went out to select a consultant to implement the program, and the town selected Jones Edmonds and our team to do that. What we did is we looked at the master plan that was prepared because you guys had invested in that master plan. And with any eye, you look, what can we do from a value perspective that may bring more value to implementing the program, accepting the town wanted to implement a septic to sewer program. So we wrote the first task order at Dan's request was to assess where could we put a vacuum station. So first, To convert septic to sewer, there are a couple different methods you can collect sewage. And so we could do it by gravity, which is what we're doing in the Micah streets. You can do it by vacuum, or you can do it by low pressure. So the original master plan had gone through and determined that vacuum was the appropriate collection method to use. And we concurred with that method. Where we differed a little from the master plan was where they chose to locate the vacuum pump station. And with that in mind, Dan asked us to look at alternatives for vacuum pump station location, which was the first task order. And with that, what we concluded is that there was a piece of property adjacent to Forest Hill, which is actually the second exhibit that you have in there, that DOT had quit claim deeded to the town for use as public space, essentially. We went back and working with them, we appealed to FDOT to modify the description for use of that quitclaim, that area. And on September 21st, you received a notice from DOT that they accepted that the use in that area can be modified for a wastewater facility. So right now, our proposal is to use that site for vacuum collection. In order to do that, we needed to separate out the Micah streets, because from a technical perspective, being able to move sewage through a vacuum system across the two bridges was impractical. And to only have one vacuum station, which they're on the order of $900 to $1 million a piece. So, you know, you want one as opposed to two. That was the best strategy. So the second task order, which was essentially done almost at the same time, was to determine how would you pay for this? What would be the revenue sufficiency to be able to sustain a septic to sewer conversion program, and then in turn be able to pay for it over time. And that study was done and presented in the initial phase. I want to say it was September, Dan, or was it August? I don't remember when PRMG, or I'm sorry, Reptel was presented. It's actually in my report, so I should just look there.
Yeah, I can't remember.
August 10th. So they presented it on August 10th. Since then, Dan has asked for additional work so that before we can finalize the study, which will be done in the near term. The general conclusion is that the town can, under a structured revenue and fee structure, be able to pay for the collection system within a reasonable price point. So that was positive. The third task order was to implement what we refer to as phase 2 of your conversion program. And that's because you had already done work up along Forest Hill Boulevard. So we chose to call that phase 1. And there are strategic reasons to have done that. That showed that the town had taken initiative to begin replacing their septic to sewer in the town. So we called the Micah Streets project phase 2, or a phase 2 water quality project. And that project is currently in design. And by Friday, you'll have the design report in your hands for that. Related to that was the coordination that was done, because Florida Mango is under design for expansion and for renovation. So we had to coordinate with Palm Beach County, Lake Worth Beach, because that's the connection to the force main is Lake Worth Beach. We did look at Village of Palm Springs as well for sewage connection, but that didn't quite work as well as we had hoped. But we also have to coordinate with them for the water connection, because in addition to the sewer or the septic replacement program in the Micah streets, we're going to go in and replace the water system at the same time. And we're going to do a surface restoration of your road. So essentially, it'll become a neighborhood improvement project for your community. So that's where it stands in terms of real activity to date. Now what we're doing is we just started the preliminary engineering on the vacuum portion of the system. So that's for the vacuum collection system. And we'll produce a report that'll come to you guys in December to show you how we may phase, or how you guys may phase the implementation of that. And there is an exhibit also in the status report that shows the conceptual phasing. And that's those are for practical purposes, broke up in terms of geography within the town. But you know, based on funding and other things like that, those phases may change some. Because one of the other things that's not reflected in here, but Dan is well aware of, is our work to assist in being able to secure additional funding for the town to be able to implement any number of these phases. To date, we've submitted at least 2 applications, and there's still one outstanding that could be funded through ARA funding. So we'll see how it goes. So That's a high-level description of the program and progress to date. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Quite welcome.
Starting with Councilman Rodriguez. Any questions?
No, I don't. Just very well put together.
What does ERU stand for?
Equivalent residential unit.
Okay.
So when you
Thank-
look at sewage, you look at it in units that we would assign essentially to a residence. So with your commercial properties, they may have multiple ERUs based on number of bathrooms, occupancy, number of seats in a restaurant. So we use ERU as a planning unit.
Gotcha.
For example, the town has 6 ERUs. That's what we contribute to the system.
Okay.
Gotcha. Councilman Pavone,
No questions.
Vice Mayor.
One of the, I sat in on the legislative committee today for the League of Cities. And one of our priorities is the septic to sewer conversion. And we wanted to make that a high priority, and we feel that we did. Trying to get some dollars now, some matching grants from Tallahassee is now going to be the next challenge.
Yes.
But when we started this, I remind the people that were in my meeting today that 20 years ago, there was a 4-1 vote against septic to sewer conversion. Can you believe that?
20 years ago.
20 years ago. Now look at it. Look where we are now. If we don't do something now, they're going to shove it down our throats.
Yes, correct.
And with Lake Clark being declared an impaired water body, that's even more problematic. So we got to do everything we can to clean up our mess.
Agreed.
Thank you very much, Bill. Great. I was so excited to read your report.
Likewise. It was
My
a
pleasure.
breath of fresh air, making a lot of progress, and I really and truly appreciate all your hard work. Excited that you're here today, live and in person, and not just remote attending. So thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Commenting directly is better than saying, hey, great tie. You know,
Nice to see you, Bill. Thank you.
Bill. All right. That does it for status reports. Let's move on to council comments. We'll start with Councilman Pavone.
Even though it's not a official Lake Clark event, October 23rd is a Halloween boat parade, second one.
Yep.
So
Halloween boat parade?
Halloween boat parade.
Can't even get out of my waterway right now. It's just jammed up.
We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. So
Kidding.
that's it.
Not really.
Anything else?
I know.
I like it. I like it. All right. And President Pro Tem.
Congratulations to all those Newmanites out there.
I know. I was going to
The
talk
day
about it.
before a boat parade.
Yeah.
Go Crusaders. How'd that happen, Mr. Clark? Happy to see it. I got a house full of them. Thank you very much. We also, just for everybody's knowledge, put in a couple of Royal Point Siennas at Pine Tree Park to help beautify the park. And one of them is in memory of Margaret Parkinson,
Nice.
who is a longtime resident in Lake Clark Shores. Her husband was recently named as the Volunteer of the Year. And we'll be working on getting that named, and stop by there and see it. And hopefully it'll lend some beauty to it.
Can we maybe do something when we do the tree lighting? I don't know. Is that too much? Too spread apart?
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Far apart. He'll have some input in on it too. But thank you to the Utilities Department who actually facilitated that. They made sure that they got the establishment good to go, and they put them in, and it was easy.
Fantastic.
So, yep, that's all I have.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
No, everybody did a great job. I think, Bill, you just don't know how happy you made me tonight. Thank you very, very much. And a little bit of Vice Mayor privilege here, also known as grandfather privilege. For the record, Miss Vivian Carmen Shalhoub is birthday's today. It's going to be in the record books, because when they say give it the minutes, Vice Mayor said happy birthday to his beautiful granddaughter.
Couldn't let the mayor say that?
Do you have a proclamation there?
I do. Thank you, Vice Mayor. So this was really unique to be able to do a proclamation by the town council of the town of Lake Clark Shores Florida, proclaiming October 22nd, 2021 as Cardinal Newman High School Day. 60 years, the Cardinal Newman High School has endeavored to produce students strongly dedicated to their faith, values, families, and communities by providing an intellectually stimulating environment, rich in spiritual character and moral development. I signed this today after we voted on it, and I am a Newman Crusader. I'm an alumni, class of 99. So that was pretty cool to be able to sign that for Cardinal Newman Day. Let's see here. Happy birthday to my baby girl. She did turn 4 today. Looking forward to going home and celebrating. Our next town meeting is November 9th. Have a happy and safe Halloween, everybody. 2022, we will finally hopefully have our Better Than Halloween party once again this year. There will not be any town sponsored Halloween events. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. We're done.
Thank you.